What's good, YouTube? This is the only big green Yu-Gi-Oh! And I am back again with another deck profile. And this deck profile right here is an updated deck of my 2002 format, or May 2002 Yugi Kaiba format, as you guys may know it. In the other format, I accidentally had Heavy Storm in my deck, which wasn't legal at the time. I thought Heavy Storm came in Structure Deck Yugi like a dummy, and I also thought that the card was released in the Legend of Blue Eyes. Turns out that the card was released a month after this format in the set Metal Raiders, which is, you guys should know that format, or not format, you guys should know that set if you're like an old Yu-Gi-Oh player. Turns out that it got its first release in Metal Raiders as a super rare though, which I thought it was a common in Structure Deck Yugi for some reason. But this is a re-upload, or not a re-upload, this is an updated version of my Yugi Kaiba deck. And this one doesn't have Heavy Storm, of course, in it. Anyways, starting off, the 2 Summon Skull. I'm still only playing 2 Summon Skull, just because 3 can be very bricky, and 1 I feel like is not enough. I feel like you can get away with playing 2. So definitely you could play more if you want, but right now it's just that. Next up, I play the 3 Lajins. Lajin is the best monster that you can just straight up normal summon in this format, if you guys didn't know that. This format is also known as Lajin Beatdown. I've also heard the format called that way for the obvious reason of Lajin and then beating your opponent down with the Lajin. And then next up, I play 3 Battle Ox. He's just a 17k beater. That's the reason why you play him. He has the second most attack that can be summoned without a tribute at the time, other than Lajin. And then the 2 Neo, again, because 17 attack. They were tied for the second most attack points in the game at that time. And then next up, 3 Wall of Illusions. This is good for stopping your opponent for a few turns. Whenever it's attacked, you can, or whenever a monster battles it's returned to the hand. So you can set this down and just wait for your opponent to swing into it, and then their monster goes back to your hand. And the fact that it has 1850 booty is insane, considering that, like I said, Lajin was the strongest level 4 or lower at the time, and not even Lajin by himself can get over this card. So a lot of time, this card is a good thing, like for baiting out the opponent's fissures and things like that, forcing the opponent to use their reinforcements early and stuff. This card was really good all around, and you could even get offensive with it if it's late in the game and you know that the opponent doesn't have a lot of stuff left. Next up, 2 Trapmaster. You could play this guy at 3 as well. I just only play 2. I've always only played 2 of this guy. I really haven't found the need to play 3 yet, but you can get away with 3. This guy is the only way of getting rid of trap cards in this format, which sucks. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. What he does though is it's a flip effect, and whenever you flip it face up, or of course when it goes into battle, you get to pick a card up from your opponent's spell and trap card zone, and they reveal it. If it's a trap, it's destroyed. If it's not a trap, then it just gets reset in the position it was in. So at worst, you do get to see information on what they're having back there, if it does turn out to be a spell. Next up, the best flip effect monster at the time, Triple Maneater Bug. Obvious reasons. This guy pops a monster on the field. He's a good way of getting rid of if the opponent has a wall, or if you're just trying to push for game. That's another good way of flipping this guy up. And then lastly, shouts outs to Yugi Nono for coming up with this idea of playing a 1 Hain. I really love I saw his video, or his deck profile of this format, and when I saw that he put 1 Hain in his deck, it's like, that is super intelligent. I'm going to test that out, and I've been playing this card ever since I've seen that. This card is really good. It has of course, the bouncing back to hand, but one thing that you can do is you can loop your Maneater Bugs with this card. If your opponent's in a tough situation, you can flip up the Maneater Bug, kill something, and then immediately flip up your Hain, return to hand your Maneater Bug, and then reset the Maneater Bug face down again if you haven't normal summoned already, of course. You can also loop your Trap Masters as well by just flipping up the Trap Master, hopefully popping a trap. And if not, you can just always return the Trap Master and then reset it again to do it later. And again, like I said before, you can always use it just for like a mini Wall of Illusion effect to kind of stall your opponent out. This card's very versatile and I love it. I might up it to 2, but then again, it's definitely going to stay at 1 for now. Next up, onto the spells, the almighty Power 5, as it was known as. The Raigeki, the Dark Hole, of course, for board wiping. Destroy all monsters on your opponent's field. Destroy all monsters on the field. The Monster Reborn for bringing back your Summon Skull, or bringing back the opponent's Summon Skull or Blue Eyes if they're playing the Blue Eyes variant, or just pushing for game. The Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards, of course. And then the Change of Heart for taking control of opponent's monster. Little tip, if you guys didn't know, I like to save on to my Change of Hearts to play it, take control of their monster, and immediately tribute over it with Summon Skull. That's the way I like to utilize this card. But you can always just take a their Login, and push for game. Or if they have a Blue Eyes, take their Blue Eyes and hopefully push for game. But I like to keep this card in my hand for safekeeping, especially until I get the Summon Skull. But it's play the way you want to play. Another thing that you could do is take control of their card. If you have a Hain set down, you could take control of their card and then go into battle phase, attack with their thing, and then main phase 2, flip up your Hain to bounce their card back to their hand. I mean, that's another combo that you could do with this thing. So don't just play Change of Heart to play Change of Heart. Actually, utilize it. This card can be very deadly if you utilize it correctly in this format. Next up, the one-of Card Destruction. Card Destruction was at 2, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was at 2. So you might be able to play 2. If it wasn't at 2, it was at 1. But I'm pretty sure this was at 2. But if it is at 2, I'm only playing 1 anyways. I feel like 2 is way too many of this card. But a good thing to do is if your opponent has been holding on, if you've noticed that your opponent has been holding on to a few cards in their hand, that's a good tell sign that they have one of the Power 5 in their hand and they're just sitting to use it. So that's a good time to know, hey, I'm a Card Destruction. He's been sitting on the same 2 cards ever since turn 3 of the game or turn 1 of the game. So that's a good telltale sign that they've got the Power 5. So use Card Destruction there. Of course, you could always just use Card Destruction to unbrick your hand if you bricked your hand. Next up, Swords. This card I know was at 2, which sucks. Or you would play 3 of this thing. It's your main stall of the deck. It's, other than Wall, it's the only good card that you know is going to stick to the board for a while and give you a few turns. There is one way of getting rid of it, which is going to be the next card. The 2D spell. Originally, this was the heavy, but again, I was wrong. I looked up heavy. One of the guys commented, and I believe I have his comment pinned in the original deck list. But he mentioned Heavy Storm wasn't in this format. It's and in my head, it's he's lying. There's no way Heavy Storm's not in this format. I could have sworn the Heavy Storm came out. And then, lo and behold, I went, and there it was. Heavy Storm's first TCG released was in Metal Raiders. So I immediately was okay, that's a big oof on my part. So let me change that out, and I immediately replaced the Heavy Storm with the second D-Spell. D-Spell is your only way of this format of getting rid of the opponent's spell cards. This is another card that I wouldn't straightly just blind use it. Wait until the opponent plays their swords. Or if you flip up Trap Master and the card that they reveal is a spell, you can definitely de-spell at that point. Because sometimes you're forced to set your Power 5 if you're scared that your opponent has the Card Destruction or something. They are forced to set their Power 5 at some times. So this card can also be used to bring those cards out. But then again, hold on to this. This format is very heavy resource management. Don't just lay things down because you can. Wait until the perfect time and then play your stuff out. Next up, the 3 Fissures. This card destroys the monster on your opponent's side of the field with the lowest attack. I mainly like to hold on to my Fissures for when the opponent has a Wall of Illusion face up, or if the opponent if the opponent only has one monster and they tribute into Summon Skull, I'm immediately going to punish them for doing that. Or again, if they're playing the Blue Eyes variant, I'm going to immediately punish them for just tributing 2 to summon Blue Eyes. Onto the traps. This hasn't changed either since my original upload. 2 Reinforcements. This is a card that you can play 3. Originally, I was playing 3. Before I uploaded the deck profile, I was playing 3, but a few days before I made the upload, I changed this card to 2, tested it out a bit at 2, and I liked it better at 2. But again, you can play 3. All it does is it just boosts your monster up by 500. So it's a good way of, if the opponent has a Login, This card's a good way of letting you get over the opponent's Lodge-In if you only have something like a Battle Ox, or if your thing is looking like this where the opponent has a Battle Ox, you have a Battle Ox, you can swing in and then flip up your reinforcement to get over their Battle Ox. There's also the occasion of pushing for game, but if the opponent's life points is less than 500 in this format, you might as well say that they've lost at that point, especially if you have the advantage of card value. Up next, the 3 Waboku again. Swords, wall, and now this card, just for stalling out and waiting the game out as long as possible. There's another good thing that you can use with Waboku. Like if you have your Battle Ox, they have their Battle Ox. You can swing into their Battle Ox and then flip up your Waboku to save your Battle Ox, and then their Battle Ox will die. You combo the card with stuff like that. Or vice versa. If the opponent is somehow, like for some reason, kamikazing for no reason at all, you can punish them for that by flipping up Waboku. So this is another card that you can strategically use. And then the best trap card in the deck, and one of my favorite cards in this deck, the triple trap hole. I even took the time to Hobby League to get the 3 Hobby League trap holes. This card is super cheap, so you would expect to find it. It took forever to find this card. My local shop only had like 2 at the time, and somehow like one day I showed up to my locals and somebody actually had this thing in their trade binder, and I was like, what the heck? But I don't know why this card was so hard for me to find, because it's only like $2-3. At least at the time of me getting this card it was. I don't know how much it is now. It might be cheaper, or it might be less than what it was. Anyways, what it does is when the opponent normal summons a monster with 1,000 or more attack, you can activate this and destroy it. I like to save these things for if my opponent's playing the Blue Eyes matchup. Like, if you know they're playing the Blue Eyes matchup, the second they summon the Lord of D, immediately I'm like, no, I'm not going to get sacked by your Blue Eyes combos. And another thing is, if they're not playing the Blue Eyes matchup, a good thing to do is use this on their Lodge-Ins. Or, of course, when they go in to summon their Summon Skull, use that on there. But other than that, I would not use this card on any other monster. Anyways, guys, I hope you liked the video. I am going to be bringing the updated version of the Kaiba deck real soon, or aka the Blue Eyes deck. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And I really enjoy this format. I want to build more decks of this format. I actually have a stall deck that I'm trying to build, and it's full of just a bunch of beefy defenders. And I'm thinking about splashing in like a Blue Eyes engine just to like throw the opponent off a bit. And I think it'll be pretty fun. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I'm definitely going to test it before I upload it to YouTube. So I'll be on the lookout for that. I definitely want to bring that deck as well. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been the Only Big Green Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm signing out.